morning. Many years ago when I was a young adult in a youth group, we put on a musical and an older, wiser, very talented woman produced it. The musical begins with the group, the cast on the stage, wandering around, and we each had a sign that represented a school of philosophy, a wise person, a sagely thinker of history. I was Buckminster Fuller. I had no idea who Buckminster Fuller was. So I had to go and look up and read about buckyballs and architecture and other things. Others were Socrates or Plato, Aristotle and so on. And we walked around the stage holding this sign that indicated who we were, oblivious to everyone else going on, lost in our own world, our own worldview, our own thinking, our own ideology and mindset. And from the back of the hall came this sound of a horn just ringing out. And then a voice of a young woman. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. At first it was unaccompanied, and then she kept repeating this refrain over and over. And the band started to play gently at first with her, and then building up as she walked through the audience and climbed onto the stage. And as she walked around singing, she tapped us on the shoulder and looked into our face and sang the song. And as we each engaged with the song took over us, invited us in, welcomed us in, and we cast aside our signs and joined in the singing and the dancing. And soon everyone was singing and dancing to this prepare ye the way, etc. In the middle of the stage was a ladder, and on top of the ladder was sitting this God figure, if you like, in darkness. And then all of a sudden the light came on and the person slowly descended from the heavens into the earth, the stage. This figure who would be the Christ figure, the Jesus figure in the play, descended, God embracing life and being part of us. And through the rest of the musical, we young people, we cast childlike gathered round and would-be disciples. And that was the play. Us journeying together, learning, making mistakes, being invited into deeper life. A life that was not about exclusive philosophies and ideas and ideologies and belief systems and religious, political, whatever, but about community, about sharing together, about inclusive community, about different people with different ideas and diverse experiences coming together and sharing life and flourishing together. And every year at this time, I remember that musical and that song in particular, because out of the pages of the scriptures in Matthew, Mark or Luke or John, we hear this strange and enigmatic character, John the Baptist, steps out of the pages into our lives. Prepare ye the way of the Lord, he says. This strange hippie-like character who lives in the wilderness of Judea, calling people out of the cities and the towns to the River Jordan and to the wilderness. And his words are harsh, and he's a kind of a first century way out hippie, dressed in camel hair and eats locust and wild honey. He's different. And he's abrasive. And as I listen to his voice every year, I wonder, what does it mean to prepare the way of the Lord, the way of God, the way of love in our world? What does it mean to prepare the way of the Lord in a world of many faiths and no faith, of agnostics and atheists, as well as people of a wide variety of religious traditions and native spiritualities, indigenous spiritualities, as well as Christian faith? What does it mean to prepare the way of God in a world that's not sure about God, that believes in materiality and not the spiritual? What does it mean to prepare the way of the Lord, the coming of God, into a world of fires and droughts and floods and viral pandemics, of illness and disease and natural disaster? What does it mean to prepare the way of God into a world where people are persecuted and oppressed, or where there's invasions and warfare and many are displaced refugees? What does it mean to prepare the way of God in a world where people are impoverished and hunger and die of starvation or of waterborne diseases because they don't have access to clean water or simple medications that will help them, whilst the other half of the world struggle with affluent-based diseases and illness? What does it mean to prepare the way of the Lord in a world where there is hatred and anger and violence, where people pick up weapons and guns and shoot people and run them down in schools, in universities, in shopping centres, in streets? Innocent people. What's it mean to prepare this way of love in a world where there's boredom and alienation and fear and loneliness that leads to suicides and addictions? What does it mean to prepare this way of love in a world that's conflicted and fighting and divided, and where there's hatred and defensiveness and judgment and aggression? What does it mean to prepare the way of God in this time, in this world? I wonder that each year. And this enigmatic figure, John the Baptist, steps into my life and says, prepare the way of the Lord. And I wonder about it and I ponder it and recognise in something of his words and what he's pointing to, and my experience in that musical Godspell, where we were drawn into a place where there is joy and celebration and flourishing together. When one falls, we help them up. When one doesn't have enough, we share. When people are hurting, we hold them. Instead of excluding and pushing people away, instead of judging people on the basis of what they think or believe or don't believe, what they do or who they are, we embrace them into the diversity of a community that is just and loving. Preparing the way of the Lord, preparing the way of God and love, is opening our own hearts to the flourishing of human life and the life of the earth itself and all its creatures. Of understanding that we are part of this great web of life, dynamic and interconnected and beautiful. We're only a part. And without the other parts, we're not whole. For me, preparing the way of love of God is opening myself up to this deeper truth and wonder and love, and letting go. Letting go of the control I think I need over others and over my own life. Letting go of my belief systems which I want to hold up as the only truth, and judge people by what they don't believe or how they disagree with me. It's about letting go of the need to acquire more and have more and be better and important, and recognise that I'm one of everyone in relationship. John the Baptist, this strange and enigmatic figure, comes with words of judgment. You ratbags, you scum, you whatever. He uses all sorts of vindictive language. And he says the one who comes will come in judgment to separate the wheat from the chaff on the threshing floor. It's words of judgment that we often associate with religion. Judgmental, harsh. But I wonder if John's words of judgment, if this coming one, this God figure, this God Christ in our lives, if the judgment isn't less about telling us we're bad or wrong or evil or whatever, and more about saying, you can be better. If the judgment is saying, Jeff, you're not living the full life that's available to you. Jeff, you're settling and choosing for something less than you can be. You're choosing a way that doesn't allow you to flourish or those around you to flourish. I wonder if the judgment is saying, Jeff, in you, there is something more beautiful, deeper, richer that you can be. And that's what I want for you. And when there's talk of sin and wrong, bad choices, that's what it's about, me taking bad choices that affect other people and diminish their living and mine at the same time. And I think that what John is trying to say is the one who comes is the one who comes in liberating, life-giving love. The one who comes is the one who opens us up to be what we can be, more truly and deeply and fully in community. We don't become our truest selves alone. We come connected to others. When we flourish, others flourish. When they flourish, we flourish. And the earth and its creatures flourish. I think this time of the year, as we move towards Christmas, we hear these words of John inviting us into a deeper way. The way that Martin Luther King Jr. heard and held. And he comes to proclaim the way of the Lord, about justice, about making the rough roads straight and flat, the crooked roads, straightening them out, the high bringing down and the low lifting up, so that there's justice and righteousness across this earth, and all people and creatures share in it, and each has enough, and each can flourish because everything flourishes. And I think that's the dream of God, the one who descended this ladder and lived among us, pitched tent and joined, lived in our neighbourhood and experiences our life and invites us into something. And I remember that young woman who walked the stage singing, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord," tapping me on the shoulder and looking into my face and saying, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord, the way of love. Come, join the song, join the dance, join the life, the one that's prepared for you and for all people." And as we journey towards Christmas, I think this is the invitation that is ours. Amen.